It's the 18th of August 2025. We're at the Tower Hamlets Archives and Library. My name is Sadia Ahmed and I'm from the Everyday Muslim Archive and Heritage Initiative. And today we'll be interviewing Dr. Hani for the Muslim Aid Archives. So can I start with asking your full name and date of birth?
Hani al-Banna, it's 9/12/50.
Okay, and also could you tell me a little bit about where you were born and raised?
Cairo, 1950.
And can you tell me a little bit about what your parents did for work?
My mother was a housewife and she was a community worker as well and matchmaker. She helped young people to get married. My father was a professor of Islamic law in Azhar University.
And how did your upbringing shape your values?
It is a family value at the time. The family culture and the Egypt culture was very strong, respecting the family, respecting the friendship of neighbors, respecting the chastity of women and the credibility of women and men at the time, and the respect of relatives. And our house was open for everybody. People have social problems, people are divorcee or want to get married, come to my mother. People want to have some religious advice, come to my father. So we were as young children in this climate. The father is giving the religious advice, the mother is giving the social advice. So that's why we were being brought up and nurtured by the culture and the value of the strong family. Even the area which I was brought up in, two old areas in Cairo. One of them was called Al-Darb al-Ahmar. Darb al-Ahmar is more than 1,000 years old as an area. When you enter Al-Darb al-Ahmar area, you are in a different world. You can smell the history, you can smell the dust of the conqueror who came to Cairo at the time, and you can smell the sweat of the women and men who used to work very hard, just by going through the avenues or the small or the little street of Darb al-Ahmar. Then we moved from Darb al-Ahmar to Al-Hilmiya, which is more than 200 years old, actually, which is still having the same culture. Actually, this build the values inside the heart of the child at this time. Its values are not built by lectures, not built by only listening to speeches or just going to the mosque, but actually it's the surrounding atmosphere around you as a young child.
Thank you. Can you tell me a little bit about your education?
I was from the beginning or from the end?
Wherever you like to start.
My primary school was in Cairo, called Ahmad Maher Primary School. Preparatory school was Muhammadiyya, then Bab al-Ismailiyya. Secondary school was Giza Secondary School in Cairo, because we moved from Al-Hilmiya to another area. Then I got my certificate of the secondary school from Libya, from Benghazi, Shuhada Yanayr Secondary School in Benghazi in 1966-67. Then after that, I joined the medical school, as a medical school in Cairo, and I was qualified 76, I think. Then I traveled to UK to work as a doctor. So I had to get the license of to be able to practice medicine in UK, and I failed 4 or 5 times. I always fail. Then I passed. Then after that, I got my Doctor of Medicine, which is MD, in 1991 from from Queen Elizabeth, from the Birmingham Medical School in 1991, December 1991. Also, I failed in my MD because of my poor English language, and the written one, not the spoken one, and the mix-up of the references in the thesis. Then after that, I gave up medicine 1995.
So when you came to the UK, did you practice medicine for a while, or did you just
when I came to UK, I came in November 1977 to practice medicine. That's why I went through the journey, and by 1995 I resigned from medicine and became full-time worker for Islamic Relief.
So can you tell me how and when you first became involved with Muslim Aid?
My relationship with humanitarian and social work started in 1983 when the famine in Ethiopia happened, and the whole of Europe and America and the whole world was standing for the famine. Remember the era of Band Aid and Live Aid and Sirp of Goldof. This is where we discovered that we need to do something. So we started Islamic Relief in 1984. Then I joined Muslim Aid in 1985 as a founding trustees.
Okay.
And from 1985, it was a long journey with Muslim Aid, with all the great Islamic leaders of the Muslim community in UK. And we used to sit in the office of Muslim Aid in Yusuf Islam office for years, actually. I remember that, God bless him and his family. He gave us this space to allow Muslim Aid to grow there. All our meeting, all the secretarial support, all this kind of thing was actually for free from Yusuf Islam at the time.
So you started off at Islamic Aid, Islamic Relief. So what was your role at Islamic Relief?
The Islamic Relief, there was no written role, but I was just starting from nothing, actually, because we found that the Muslim community at the time of the famine in Africa in 1983 doing nothing. And we found that the most of the people coming from becoming displaced or refugees are mixed community, either Muslim and Christian and atheist, who came to Sudan, to east of Sudan, said as young people that we need to do something, actually, to respond to that. And we started responding on a very haphazard way, ad hoc way, by actually raising funds from my family in Cairo. After visiting Sudan, I was stopped in Cairo for a week as a transit. So the first donation came to us was 20 pence from a young boy at the age of 9. Then we started to ask people to help. My co-founder was a Palestinian Iraqi who helped me from the very beginning, Dr. Hassan, and we were two people. It was Dr. Hassan and myself, because both of us were from the Birmingham University, and we used to go door to door, street to street, mosque to mosque, to raise £1 and £2 and £5 and £10. This was in '84 before joining Muslim Aid in 1985.
Okay. And why did you join Muslim Aid? Were you invited or encouraged by someone?
I was invited because at that time there was nobody in UK doing this kind of international charitable activity. It was only Islamic Relief on a very, very primitive or very amateuric. I wasn't like an amateur, actually, just going to the mosque, raising fund, writing some leaflet with my hand. My wife was have the typewriters to type for me, and and we started to connect to Sudan, to get our relationship with Sudanese organization, to send some fund to Khartoum to do some projects, And from there, people in Muslim Aid asked me to join because I have at least 1 year of experience. But most of the work in the UK at that time were actually da'wah work, actually in the city, or each individual was sending his or her zakat and sadaqah to their own family back home in India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and in the Arab world as well. So there was nothing on international humanitarian work. That's why they invited me to join them.
Okay. And so what was your day-to-day involvement in Muslim Aid? So what did you implement?
I was not executive member. I was just an ordinary member of the trustees. We were about 20 people on the board. Actually, I used to attend only the meetings. But actually, in Muslim Aid, there are some committees run by the trustees. Actually, I was not one of them, actually. And because there be double vested interest, Islamic Relief is first, Muslim Aid is the second organization in the country. And that's why it was a little bit sensitive to even to go deep into the executive role of managing the office of Muslim Aid. I was not doing this.
So who were the people that you were working with at Muslim Aid at the time?
I remember Yusuf Islam was the chairman. Dr. Abdul Qatma was a psychiatrist, and he was from London, originally Lebanese. Dr. Mahmoud Al-Khani was also Syrian, was another doctor. Dr. Amin Othman was a hematologist. Brother late Wasti, rahmatullah alayh. Late Muhammad Abdul Salam, rahmatullah alayh, from Da'wat al-Islam, Bengali. Wasti was Pakistani. Who else at that time? Mahbub Kantaria was from actually Leicester, and Sayyid Iqbal Sakrani came later on as well. Dr. Shuaib Hassan, I think he is Shia Council, and quite a few of them. And Chowdhury Muinuddin from also Bengali, was a community worker from Islamic Foundation. Later on came Farouk Murad. I'm not sure if Zahid Pervez was among us. Dr. Manazir Ahsan was one of the trustees as well. So all those people that I can remember them, great people.
So there were different people from different backgrounds
That's
that came
right.
together
That's right.
as a foundation of Muslim Aid.
That's right.
So how long were you at Muslim Aid?
Around 5 years, the first 5 years. Then we found it's not right that I have to be a member of Liverpool Football Club and Manchester United Football Club at the era of the 80s, when Liverpool was actually beating Manchester United, and then Sir Alex Ferguson came, said no more anyway, and they want to scout all the young children from the greater Manchester area and get gigs and the rest of the team, and they won 28 or 29 trophies in Sir Alex Ferguson. So I was...
So you went back to Manchester United, to Islamic Relief.
No, I was just actually... Manchester United was actually maybe... Whatever it is. Liverpool was like Muslim Aid, or Manchester United was Islamic Relief, so I cannot be a member of both of them.
So while you were working at both, what were you doing at Islamic Relief, and how did your work at Islamic Relief help with your activities, if you like?
You see, at that time, we were all amateurs. To be very honest, none of us knew what we were doing, including myself. And I learned from my mistakes. But actually, to change the story to become positive, most of the people I used to work with in Islamic Relief was second school individuals and university students. Actually, so I relied on them and the power and the energy of Islamic Relief. The difference between Islamic Relief and Muslim Aid, that Muslim Aid was run by senior people in the community, leaders of the community, because they wanted to represent the whole Muslim world in UK. So you might find people from this Jama'ah, from this Jama'ah, from this group, from this group, from this group, while actually in Islamic Relief, we're relying heavily on young people, like actually the secondary school students and the university students. Because I was doing my Doctor of Medicine at Birmingham University Medical School at the time. So this was my club. Was FOSIS, Federation of Student Islamic Association, with MSS, Muslim Science Society, and I was relying on the youth. Muslim Aid was relying on the great names.
So how did you feel the difference in the way the two charities were run? How did that manifest in the way that they worked on the ground?
We were faster in Islamic Relief. This does nothing to do with the credibility of Muslim Aid. Muslim Aid was representing a big leadership, community organizations. And so we found from Jamaat Islami Pakistan, Jamaat Islami India, Jamaat Islami Pakistan, from other Jamaat Islami in the Arab world as well. So they were very particular about they're very particular about getting the top leaders. Actually, that's why for us, actually, we were runners, street runners, street fighters, boys and girls. That's why we were faster. But that does not mean one of us was better than the others. It's a different school of thought. Muslim Aid was depending on committees from the trustees to run or to guide the executives. Islamic Relief was relying on volunteers and on the managing director, which was myself, or founding member only, and the rest of the trustees were just supporting or not interfering in the day-to-day business of Islamic Relief.
And in the 5 years that you were there, how did you see Muslim Aid change during the time?
Muslim Aid represented all the community with all its positive side and the non-positive side of it, actually, which actually was very highly respected by most of the mosques, most of the community. Islamic Relief was actually respected by the younger generation because we were on the road. Actually, what Muslim Aid was having the prestige. Actually, at that time, from 85 to 90 plus, because of the credibility of those great names, which I mentioned some of them. Particularly, Yusuf Islam was the chairman, and Yusuf Islam has a very heavy weight in not only in the British Muslim community, but actually in Britain as well as globally.
How did you see the difference in leadership in relating terms of efficiency in how the two were run?
You want the truth? I did not know what they mean by efficiency at that time. We just were runners to deliver the message and to collect the money. That's it. If I talk, because I was not heavily involved in the day-to-day running of Muslim Aid as an executive member of the board, in Islamic Relief we're raising fund, spending fund, making photographs, run. And I was one of the runners. Actually, in Muslim Aid, they were more efficient because they have this background of this big organization, and it might have been far more better than Islamic Relief at the very beginning in efficiency.
And how did that translate in donations?
It did not make much difference, but a lot of rich people in the city were giving more money to Muslim Aid because of the names of the trustees. So this is something very important. When you have a diverse group of trustees who represent different parts of the community, the elite or the richest individual in the city will donate to them. But when you are running on the road, like Islamic Relief, the younger generation will give you the money. Because sometimes younger generation do not believe in the leadership. Always rebellion.
In terms of implementing the international projects, were you involved in any of those?
Yes, my first visit to Sudan was in September, October 1985, when we managed in this 8 months of Islamic Relief to raise £5,000 in 8 months. You got it? You got it, people? In 8 months, we only raised £5,000. Now is your TikTok, big book, ok. You raise it in a second. We have to struggle, actually, to find a ticket, to buy a ticket, to even... We did not used to sleep in hotels. We used to sleep in the flats of the volunteers, the houses of the volunteers and supporters, the donors. This hotel was nothing. Even sometimes we used to sleep in the mosque. I remember when we were sleeping in the mosque and waiting for the games, actually, and all the youngsters were coming to sleep in the mosque as well, because we cannot afford a hotel or a guest house at that time. So it was, to be very honest, this era of the 80s for Muslim Aid and Islamic Relief was the era of feeling that we have to give from our hearts. We have not actually to sweat, but to shed our tears, to plant the seeds of the humanitarian work in the country, not only in the country, in the whole West, from the Islamic culture point of view. Because Islamic Relief and Muslim Aid and Islamic Relief were the pioneers of raising this, or actually creating this culture, the Islamic humanitarian culture, in the mid-80s, from the West going back to the East, and from the West going to the far West. And actually for that time, Muslim Aid and Islamic Relief were shedding their tears and aching their back and aching their heads and having sleepless nights to plant the seeds of Islamic humanitarian work in the West, which is still now. Everyone is enjoying it. That's why actually at that time we created a new atmosphere. We brought a new culture, and we solidified the new culture and to give this culture to the youngsters to trust these two organizations. Because before that, it was only the mosques, which was not very welcoming different parts of the community, especially women and youngsters. Each mosque was actually like a flat or a house, and run by people who are actually very sincere, but not highly educated. So Islamic Relief and Muslim Aid came out to make the difference.
So what did aid look like in Sudan? What were the projects that you ran?
It was mainly humanitarian work. At that time, I'd be fooling you if I said that we have done developmental projects, we have done education. No. It's just give money to help, and using partners in Sudan. Partners to respond through the local organization to the plight of displacement or the plight of refugees coming from Ethiopia to Sudan. We did one project which was like a chicken farm, which is like a development project, but I couldn't be able to say development project because I myself at that time did not know what do I mean by development. We did not actually. Then we did another project which is water. We bought about 16 machines to get the water from the River Nile and water the land. And this was actually closer to development. But to be very honest, you ask me what development was at the time, I would not be able to answer you. Just like a nice image, yes, we get water to plant this land and to get vegetable, that's it. But we did not, I'm talking about myself when I said we I did not, or we did not know the terminology of the humanitarian work because we were just amateur. Amateur. None of us can claim that he done it according to textbook because we were all illiterate in this work, but we had the heart to drive the community.
So that was going to be my question about motivation. A lot of people saw those images on TV and just felt sad, but what motivated you to actually make a difference and try and do something, especially when you didn't have the skill set to do it in the first place?
The drive was your belief that you can do something. It's number one. Number two, the drive was that you need to have a role to play. And at that time, actually, people in Muslim Aid and people in Islamic Relief wanted to play a role and to put their fingerprint on the national and the international map of the humanitarian response. It's like an identity. Why Bob Geldof is responding while we are not responding. So let's do something. The mosque was very busy with the internal politics as well as the funding and others in a very traditional way. And we came out as a new sun rising from the west to shine the west and the east. Actually, between 84 and 85, which is Muslim Aid and Islamic Relief. This even not very strong sun shining, but actually something shining to say that, hey, it's not the mosque anymore, or something else, some other things. And we came out. What made us to be motivated is we wanted to have a role to play, because we felt that we are, as Muslim community, did not play a big role or a major role in what happened at the time of Band Aid and Live Aid. And to be very honest, I was very jealous. Why Bob is doing it and we are not doing it?
Okay. You talked about Muslim community and we, so I would like to know what and how does your faith, or did your faith,
driven by my faith. I'm not going to fool you to tell you that I've been educated in the medical school about humanitarian work. Doesn't work out. I feel that my responsibility comes from the way, or our responsibility as Islamic Relief and Muslim Aid came from our love to our deen, our love to our Prophet, our love to all prophets of God that Allah has sent them to save humanity, and our love to the mission of all the prophets, because we believe, Muslim Aid and Islamic Relief, that we were the representative of not only Muslims, but all the prophets of Islam who came to humanity to save them. So, and we knew that all the messengers and prophets of Allah were social workers in their life. It's not just, don't talk about the prophets as holy prophets. Yes, they are holy prophets, but they are social workers. Ibrahim was a social worker, Jesus was a social worker, Noah was a social worker, Musa was a social worker, Yusuf was a social worker, and Muhammad was a social worker, and others. When you look at all those, so we have to follow the footsteps of our greater family, from Adam alayhi salam to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's why our responsibility, our motivation, our drive came from our deed. So what? This big so what? Yes, I'm Muslim and I want to contribute to humanity. And this is my role and I play it. You allow me to play it, you don't allow me to play it, I am going to play it. And this was our feeling without understanding what we were doing because we were amateur.
So you talk about Islamic Aid and Muslim Aid and
By the way, there's another Islam called Islamic Aid.
Oh, sorry, yes, Islamic Relief. I got them confused.
There are three organizations now. Which one do you want?
So Islamic Relief and Muslim Aid. And you sort of worked in both. You founded Islamic Relief and helped Muslim Aid. What were the sort of internal challenges that you found in
Competition.
In both the competition?
Competition. But to be very honest, I learned a lot from Muslim Aid. Because if you work in these two different cultures, the young culture of Islamic Relief volunteers and the old and serious culture of the senior leadership of Muslim Aid, I learned a lot from Muslim Aid, actually, which to complement what I have learned from the young people. The wisdom of the trustees of Muslim Aid, the drive of the trustees of Muslim Aid, and the credibility of the trustees of Muslim Aid, and the mission. While we are actually on the road, running, you have to have wisdom. If I did not take it from Muslim Aid, could have been failing. So to be very honest, me as an individual, I learned it from both sides, and I'm very happy to be in Muslim Aid. Even sometimes I found myself called double agent or spy on Muslim Aid because they raise the money from the elite, we raise the money from the street. The elite and the street does not go together. See, I'm a street man, and they are elite people actually, and the elite people make the decision, and the street boys like us actually make the noise. So I had the wisdom of the Muslim Aid trustees and the energy of the Islamic Relief volunteers.
So give me an example. What did you take from Muslim Aid?
Listen to the discussion of the trustees, different levels. Because when you sit down with Sheikh Suhaib Hassan, with Chowdhury Mu'addin, with Yusuf Islam, with Dr. Khani, with Dr. Amin Osman, they are in the 50s and 60s. When you sit down with Islamic Relief volunteers, they are between 15 and 20 and 25. Yeah, secondary school, young boys and girls, and university students. That's why our work in Islamic Relief was movement-like. But our work with Muslim Aid was actually wisely driven and driving the community. So this is something you feel it when you sit down with the people, and when you start to speak, you are different. This is what I learned from Muslim Aid. So I was a spy, by the way.
You were a spy. So were you still at Muslim Aid when they sort of transitioned from emergency relief work to long-term development projects, and what did you learn in that period?
It is all of us at that time were at the very primitive stage with the Islamic Relief from Muslim Aid, because at that time when I visited, I think Dhaka in 1991, and before that it was just a chicken farm, supporting a family, digging a well for water irrigation or drinking water. This was the traditional developmental work. I would even rickshaw puller in Bangladesh, or buying net for fishery, and what else? Seeds for plantation. This was a very primitive developmental start for Islamic Relief and for Muslim Aid. At that time, we did not read books. We learned from the small local organization in India, in Bangladesh, in Pakistan, and other countries. They were actually the source of knowledge to Muslim Aid and to Islamic Relief. Whatever you used to say, and see if this will become a very good fundraising tool to respond to the needs of the people in Sudan, in Ethiopia, in Bangladesh, in Pakistan, in even Afghanistan, which came later on with the war actually at the time. So to do it actually. So we're trying to balance between the mentality of the donor in our city, London or Birmingham, and the needs of the right holders in Bangladesh or Pakistan or India or Palestine or others.
Okay, thank you. Thinking about the founders and their vision for Muslim Aid, do you think the organisation has stayed true to its foundations and their founders' aims? Or do you think it's sort of shifted from that?
I think it's the organization, all the organization, when they started, they have a level of what do you call it, sentimental feeling. Then when it grew up, it started to have this kind of policies, procedures, and relationship and others. The maturity sometimes killed the spirit of the organization. Actually, unfortunately, once you regulate more and more the organization, this will take some time, quite often, the spirit from the heart of the organization. Because you judge people by policies. Actually, you judge people by procedures. Actually, and so the founders' era is the era of the soul, the spirit, the vision, the dynamic action, the sacrifices, and the giving, unlimited giving, and willingness of to give everything for the community to save the people who are suffering from the hardship or the hard life. Later on, when the money comes, we write laws. And sometimes we follow procedures that has no relationship to our culture. Nothing to do with our values, because it has been written by other people. That's why nowadays, when you look at in the 2025, 2026, 2027, all the policies of fundraising have been written by mature individual in mature organization. Does not match the quality of the people in the field. They cannot keep filling 30, 40, 50 pages because they're going to give them 5,000 or 10,000 pounds. We break their back because the one who wrote the policy is sitting in London, in Rome, in Paris, in New York, and the one who is implementing the policy is sitting in Dhaka, sitting in in Muzaffarabad, sitting in Cairo or whatever it is. So they don't have the same facilities. Here, my intake for this, we have to produce policy that matches the right holders. Even the world right holders were introduced to the sector 20 years ago. Actually, not beneficiary anymore. Not beneficiaries anymore. We don't use beneficiaries with right holders because what? You know who's the beneficiary? The beneficiaries are the people who are being employed by the organization. Because the money of the organization belongs to the right holders, to the poor and the widow and the displaced and the elderly and sick and the orphan. So who is the beneficiary? Is the director, is the project manager, is the project officer. These are the beneficiaries. We take their salaries from the money of the right holders. But unfortunately, we are turning the pyramid upside down, giving the upper hand to the beneficiary and the lower hand to the right holders, and the right holders are the owner of the money of the organization.
Can you describe a particularly complex or difficult situation or decision that you faced at Muslim Aid, and what did you learn from it?
I think Muslim Aid, the only difficult decision is where we should be finding a partner in the field. All of us were, as I said, starting in a field that we have no idea of its beginning and its end. And sometimes we used to rely on whom we know. Whom we know could be deadly. Because if I'm belonging to one group, the fund only goes to this group, which is not right. And sometimes people think that they can do it because they have the money. No. At that time, we needed to have more people to make compliance in both organizations. Sometimes we failed. We failed to know how the money was spent because of the good relationship between us and the local organization. Or between us and the individual who was running the local organization. This is fact up till now, actually. So, but if you come from a very strong background, which belong to a certain group, you just turn your eye, you become blind on the mistake. And this has not only happened to one organization, it happened to many organizations. Till it was proved that your people that you trust are not trusted anymore, and especially in the field. One of the most difficult times is when you are monitoring your projects remotely, while between London and Dhaka, how many thousand miles? London and Islamabad, how many thousand miles? London and Jakarta, how many thousand miles? And just you by telephone, you trust people. This is not enough. And at that time, the mistakes was, even it happened to Islamic Relief. And they'll give you a story, because I don't want to say the negative what happened to, I said, let me talk about Islamic Relief. There were some rumors about certain country directors. And this was in 1995. And my mother was dying in Cairo, and they have to delay my travel to the capital of this country till she died on the same date, which is my birthday, on 9th of December, 1990. There I traveled with good heart, because the man that I employed at that time was from certain Jama'ah, very well trusted. And this was 1995, 4 or 5 years ago he was employed. And when we tried to find the rumor about the spending here and there, and all these things come to us by like whistleblowing by the gang officers, I failed to find it. Then I was sitting in his office. Then I opened the drawer, just without thinking. When I opened his drawer of the desk of his office, he started to run away. You know why? Because there are 2 checkbooks for the organization. One that I know, and one that he knows. And when I opened the checkbook, I said, "What is this?" He ran. Here, there's nothing called trust, 100%. Absolute trust should not be there on the table. Not because he is Hafiz, not because he is reciting Quran, not because he has a beard, not because she has burqa. No. Accountability and compliance, face to face. Especially when you work in a conflict zone and you will not be able to visit the field. Be sure that you employ internal, field accountant, or what they call him, independent accountant, to check on the accounts, especially the accounts. In the case of Syria, problems happened to all the organizations because they could not be able to visit the field. There's risky and others, like external auditors. Your external auditor, you have one in London and you have one inside Syria, and both of them are independent. This apart from you visiting the field, apart from you monitoring your own actually accountant in this area. Because quite often I can get you any receipt, I can get you any document, same of the money, this money has been spent, actually without actually being spending it. This could be done very easily in different countries. With this, actually, it happened to most of the organization, and in particularly if the young people in the organization are a startup or in a conflict zone.
So I think you've kind of more or less answered the question that I was going to ask you, which was how did you balance the humanitarian work in the field with accountability and trust, but within the UK? So what did that look like for a donor? How did the community find, how did they trust that, that accountability was being done by the board and people in power?
We had a problem in 1995, come back to it, which we were overspending without having a proper accounting department and finance department and compliance department. And we found one day that we don't have much money in the organization because I was the one who was doing wrong by spending, and nobody was in the organization was telling me stop, we don't have money. And they used to take money from here to there to there. And after this mistake, we learned a lot to employ professional accountant, professional compliance officers, and from there, from 95 to 90, we started to get the people who knows what finance is about, what internal auditing is about, what accounting is about, and what policies of spending money is about, and what is strategic reserve is about. Actually, this means that we employed a lot of young professionals who knows what is happening with the money and can ask the question and can make the policy and follow the procedures. If you do this, the big organizations like United Nations, like European Union, like government organization, funding organization, or big donors will trust you. It cost us nearly £1 million budget to build this structure, but it raises tens of millions of pounds from the UN organization, from European Union, from others. Because when you find 9 or 10 qualified accountants in your organization, that means that you are waterproof. You are not leaking. Actually, you know what you are talking about. And here, this is one point. The second point, actually, we never said and put this at your ear as an earring. We never said 0% admin. It's an absolute lie. Say it again. We never claimed that it is or we were 0% admin cost. It's an absolute lie. Even if you get somebody to donate for your admin, declare it. Because any money come to the organization is a donation. Don't use gift aid by covering the admin cost and say that I'm 0%. No. Your donor gave you £100, it become £128. So because £100 is the actual donation and £28 is the gift aid. So say that I have received £28 from gift aid and I paid for this. Nothing called 0%. Even sometimes people say that zakat is 0% admin. Who are you? If Allah said, Al-Amlin alayh. This kind of people are employed to collect zakat and to spend zakat and to search for zakat. If Allah said, You appoint somebody to collect zakat. Who are you to say I don't take an admin for zakat? Your fiqh is upside down, is wrong. It's only tools for fundraising. When we were clear about this area and said, yes, we take admin, and the admin could be sometimes 5%, could go to a very difficult area to be 40, 50%. You know why? Because in certain areas, shoot to kill, you have to spend more money to save the people. And we had fatwa in this. When the society or the community felt that you are honest, you are not hiding anything, they give you more money. While the people who are claiming 0%, they discover there's nothing called 0%.
Thank you. Thinking about like the social and political context of aid work over the past 40 years, how did any major events such as the Rushdie Affair or 9/11, how did they impact your work, and how did that impact public perception of the charity?
We prepared ourselves for 9/11 10 years before 9/11. How? We were not prophets or messengers to forecast or to prophesize that 9/11 is coming, but we're opening the doors, meeting people, registering our organization at UN in 1993 was a struggle, was a fight, because one of the members of the committee of registering the social organization at UN was against us. She was a feminist and she was Islamophobe. And I had, inside United Nations in New York, to fight back, fight all the ambassadors, and stood in front of everybody without the permission of the chairman. And then, why? I gave you everything. What's wrong with you people? What else you want from me? Tell. The Irish ambassador supported us in the room. The 3 Arab ambassadors backstab us. Oh, your name is Islamic, go and change your name, your beard. What do you want me to do now? I'm now at United Nations, I'm registering. And I'll come back after 2 years. I said, what? Not anymore, I'm going to get it today. And thank God for the Irish ambassador said, raised his hand, and they gave us a support. Then the Sudanese ambassador gave us. So here, when we did this, 1993, that's 8 years before September the 11th. So we went to the kitchen, not as what they call it, supplier, but as a part of the team who was making the cooking, to understand the language, the philosophy of the spoken language, the terminology, the culture of United Nations, and to be seen by everybody in the room. Yes or no Islamic Relief, yes or no Islamic Relief, yes or no Islamic Relief, yes or no Muslim Aid, yes or no Muslim Aid. When they knew us, we had an office in Los Angeles, and we had offices here and there. So why George Bush, the son, did not close the organization in USA? Because the British government knew us, because the United Nations knew us, because the European Union knew us. 23 organizations in the US, local ones, were closed. But our organization was still there up till now. Because we opened the door. We followed the open door policy of the organization 10 years before September 11th.
To what extent do you feel Muslim Aid was viewed as a representative of a voice for British Muslims?
It is a voice because at the very beginning it represents most of the leadership of Muslim community in the country. I cannot compare Islamic Relief to Muslim Aid at that time because we were street boys. Who knows Hanif Banda? Nobody. Who knows Hassan Shabib? Nobody. Who knows this was nobody. But actually for Muslim Aid from the very beginning, they have the credibility of being representative of the Muslim community in the country. So they were ahead of us. That's why I mentioned earlier on that we took the wisdom from the trustees of Muslim Aid and the heat of the power of energy of the young people of Islamic Relief.
So how did then Muslim Aid engage with the wider Muslim community in Britain, especially the youth, and how did they engage with the newer generations?
They were more with the senior generation in all the organizations in the country, which is the directors, the founders, and the elite. Actually, we were not better than them, but different than them. Well, actually, they are the top with the decision maker. That's why sometimes when the donation comes to Muslim Aid from a mosque, £100,000, oh my God, for the £100,000 we might be working for a whole year. Actually, but as the mosque is giving it to the Muslim Aid because of the representation. Actually, because actually of the background of all the trustees, which was actually really at the very beginning, they knew that Muslim Aid represents the whole community. While we are a young organization, we could be representing the youth movement. Like Alex Ferguson and Liverpool.
So what about moving forward then? How do you think the communication and the engagement with the youth from Muslim Aid has transpired in how they run and the success of the...
I think with the CEO, I think when they started to employ somebody like Imran Madin, somebody like Mahmoud Al-Hassan, another young man, somebody like Saif Ahmed, those try to come to the younger generation and be more innovative. So from Imran Madin, Mahmoud Al-Hassan, Imran Madin, and then Saif Ahmed. These are the three. Nowadays, I can see that Sister Lamis and the brother Khalid are trying to come back to this area because it's now 70% or more are young people and women. If you don't involve them, you are dead meat. Okay? And actually, they started to approach the youth from Imran Madin time, Mahmoud Al-Hassan, and Saif Ahmed.
Can you recall any key collaborations with non-Muslim institutions or individuals?
With
Muslim Aid?
With Muslim Aid, I think they used to work with many organizations in the country, like Oxfam, Save the Children, British Red Cross, and so they have actually also connection with the British government more than Islamic Relief because of the status later on of Sir Iqbal Sakrani as well, and as well as Yusuf Islam at the beginning and Sir Iqbal Sakrani later on. Actually, this kind of relationship was actually opened for them because they represent the bulk of the leadership of the community. Actually, at that time, and it was the culture of Britain at that time was very conducive. You find Oxfam approaching you, find DAC approaching you, Disaster Emergency Committee. You find Save the Children approaching you. So they want to sit down with you because you are a new player. And because they are in London, and Muslim Aid was in London, it was very, very approachable than Islamic Relief.
What do you consider Muslim Aid's greatest achievement has been during the time that you were there?
No.
And maybe
Nothing related to me.
during the time you were there?
No, nothing related to me after I left.
After you left there?
When I left, they started to grow because I'm a strangler. I strangle people, I frighten people, I shout at people. So when they released me out, or they told me, peace be upon you, or I left, I think they become better.
So if you could change one thing from your time at Muslim Aid, what would it be?
I will not, the only thing I will change, it is the committee running Muslim Aid. No.
The system?
In the system, yeah. I think I give more freedom to the executives. More space, because if you want to create leadership, first thing to do is give a space to the young man or the young woman to grow. The more space you give to me, the more growth I will have. I'll be confident in myself because you trust me. If you don't trust me and shrink my space, I will never grow. So this kind of committee running the executive could be counterproductive.
What do you think Muslim Aid's legacy is in the British Muslim community?
It always built legacies and still building legacies. And legacies are never-ending story. From 1985, Muslim Aid started actually responding to the famine in Africa. Then 2025, Muslim Aid is developing, not responding, is advocating, not responding, is researching, not responding, is archiving, not responding. And this is a legacy, because we need an archive, we need research, we need actual development, we need advocacy, we need policies. Now Muslim Aid is doing it.
What are your hopes for the future for Muslim Aid?
To be the leader, not only of the British sector, but the global humanitarian sector. Now I don't have a preferable baby, because I'm a mother who had many children. You know how many children I have? Maybe 1 million, maybe 2, because I have got too many husbands. I keep bearing child every hour or every minute. Actually, I dream that all the organization in UK, especially the Muslim land, will take the lead through our values, which is needed, our culture, which is needed, our philosophy of thinking, which is needed, and our faith, which is needed. We need to give this mosaic of our culture to beautify the global humanitarian culture.
And what do you feel the major challenges are for Muslim communities or the charity sector in Britain today?
Yeah, human resources. We do not create leaders. We create followers. Because the current directors or chairman or senior staff have no time to sit down with young people. In the good old days, we had the barakah to work in 8 hours what others were doing in a week. And we used to sit down with the sisters if they have a problem at home. She come and talk to us as a father or a brother to the young brother, and who has the time to interact. Nowadays, this is for all the organization who are focusing on fundraising, which is right and wrong at the same time. Right because we need the money, but wrong because money is not everything. Because they spend money, millions of pounds, on fundraising, on media, on dinners, but they don't spend money on research, papers, on studies, on advocacy, on creating leadership. If those current, which I'm saying it again with my 2 fingers, and with my 1 finger, which is threatening them, if they don't have time to produce new leadership, they are failures, even if they raise hundreds of pounds in the bank accounts. Money does not count high level of quality of leadership. Money is like a subsidiary or a support item to the leadership quality. Because leader can create money. Money cannot create leaders. And if the chairman or the CEO does not produce leader while he is in the organization, he himself is a dead, rotten meat. Or she herself is a dead, rotten meat. And you can quote me on that.
How would you advise them to create leaders?
Give the say, give the space, trust them, let them fail, correct them, but don't criticize them in public. Don't blame them. Stop having the blame culture in the organization. Yes, because of you, ignorant young boy. Yes, I am young boy. I can do mistakes. What? I told you that I failed 5 times and having my license in UK. You think that I'm going to come from Egypt today, understand the culture of the medical field in UK, and I pass the exam tomorrow? Who said that? I failed 5 times. If every time I fail, nobody support me, I will be leaving medicine. And this happened to me. You have to give a space and to allow young people to grow in your shadow or at your shadow, and look at them, put them at the edge of the cliff and tell them either here or there. They will do good. And this would happen in America. You know, in 1993, we wanted to open an office in America. You know whom we sent? I'll tell you whom we sent. 3 young people, a husband and a wife in mid-20, have no clue what America is and where is America even. And you know where we send them to? We send them to Los Angeles, the most complicated and rich society and far away from most of the traditional Muslim community in the East Coast. That was Jangir Malik, and used to be one of the CEO of Muslim Aid, and Shaheen. Their salary was actually the minimum wage, which might need some social support from the government of USA. The third one was younger, was Anwar Khan. We trusted those 3 people with no budget, with no plan. You know what was the contract at that time? Telephone discussion between me and Jangir. I said, Jangir, yes. Bismillah. I said, Bismillah. Read Fatiha. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. I said, this is your contract. You go. When he felt that I trust him, he felt empowered. That's why you grew from $5,000 or $10,000 to the hundreds of thousands and to the millions. A lot of mistakes happen, but you have to correct the mistakes, not to keep blaming people. Because at a remote control, 7,000 or 8,000 miles between London and Los Angeles, you cannot just keep knocking people like this. Trust them, give the space, and listen to them and guide them. And let them to try. Try when you are there. A leader create the flow and let the people to follow his or her flow. And the leader does not follow the flow of others.
Thank you so much for that. Is there anything else that you'd like to share?
I wish Muslim Aid the best for the coming 50 years. It's 40 years today. I need to attend the 100th anniversary of Muslim Aid and inviting all of you to join me. Actually, by the way, if I am not on the surface of earth, I'll be at the bottom of earth. I'll be watching you from where I'm going to be in 100 years' time. So watch me because I'm watching you.
Thank you. Okay, so